Welcome back to the Arch in Time Chan. Today, we continue our in-depth journey. Based on Lang Lin's research, Brief History of the Viet People, link in description. In the series, Dong Son Bronze Drums, the Quintessence of Vietnamese Culture, we begin Episode 2, Decoding the Patterns on Dong Son Bronze Drums. Episode 2, Decoding the Patterns on Vietnam's Dong Son Bronze Drums. Part 1. Core cultural elements on the bronze drums. Through its structure and shape, the bronze drum clearly represents the cosmic tree, a mediator connecting humans to heaven and earth. But the story of the bronze drum does not stop at that function. It also carries many other core cultural values, all intricately blended on the patterns of the drum face and body. Worship of heaven. First and foremost, it is the culture of worshiping heaven. With the sun always appearing right at the center of the bronze drums, this clearly shows that the core value of the bronze drum is reverence for heaven. The culture of worshiping heaven has very ancient origins. In the Chen Bixi culture 58004700 BCE, in the Middle Yangtze region, archaeologists have found stone slabs engraved with the image of the sun god. This is the earliest origin of the sun symbol in Neolithic cultures across East Asia. Shortly afterward, the Gaomiao culture 55003500 BC on the Tangjiaging site 505044550 BCE also yielded many artifacts engraved with images of the sun and 8-pointed stars, a typical representation of the sun in the Neolithic period. In Vietnam, the Phung, Nguyen, and Dong Gao cultures also depict the sun image on pottery. These are the most direct origins leading to the sun symbol. On Dong Son culture bronze drums, the sun symbol originated from cultures in the Yangtze region and was directly inherited in Vietnam's Phung Nguyen culture. From there, the sun pattern appears on all Dong Son culture bronze drums, becoming the most essential and important element, never disappearing despite major changes in patterns during later phases. Worship of totems. Alongside the worship of heaven, another core characteristic of the bronze drum is the culture of totem worship, highlighted by the appearance of the fairy bird. The presence of the fairy bird on drum faces is almost a fixed decorative standard, with nearly all authentic Dong Son bronze drums featuring this image. The bird that appears very frequently on bronze drums, which Vietnamese scholars call the Laosis bird, is actually the phoenix in East Asian culture. Or the newer name is the fairy bird, based on the fairy dragon element and the dual fairy dragon tradition of the Vietnamese. Thus, the lac bird image is the totem of the Vietnamese during the Dong Son period, and its presence plays a very important role throughout this culture. The totem worship culture of the Viet ethnic community has its earliest origins in the Shijia culture, one of the two major cultures marking the emergence of the Viet community in the Yangtze region. The Vietnamese do not have just one single ancestor, but two ancestors, creating a distinctive dual origin. In ancient legend, Long Quan, dragon of water, and Oko, fairy of land, symbolize the yin-yang of heaven and earth. In archaeological reality, traces of dragon fairy, representing yang and yin, have also been found in the Shijia culture, with jade fairy birds and jade dragons. By the Dong Son period, the fairy bird is depicted on nearly all bronze drums. Additionally, many artifacts also engrave both dragon and fairy bird on the same drum face, such as on the Fujin and Jinghua bronze drums. The images of fairy bird and dragon are not limited to the drum face, but also appear on dragon boats, with the fairy bird flying toward the bow, directly symbolizing the fairy dragon origin of the Vietnamese. On the Muon bronze drum, we see a very special image. a fairy bird flying above the heads of Vietnamese leaders. This symbolizes the meaning that ancestors always watch over and protect their descendants, reflecting a life where spiritual culture plays a central role in the culture of the Viet people. Yin-yang, besides the two main cultures of heaven worship and totem worship, there is another equally important cultural element, the yin-yang philosophy, frequently appearing on Dong Sun bronze drums. Yin-yang has many diverse forms of expression. The direct image is two similar objects harmoniously merging into a spiral. But additionally, it is also represented in the form of tangent S-curves. Form appeared very early in ancient East Asian cultures, and the Viet culture continued to inherit it through Phung Nguyen and then Dong Sun. In the Dong Sun culture, the yin-yang tangent pattern appears quite frequently on bronze drums, especially on the drum body. Therefore, we can say that yin-yang is an important and core cultural element for the Vietnamese, expressed directly through the patterns on Dong Sun culture bronze drums. Dong Sun bronze drums also express Viet consciousness. Cultural elements of the worship of heaven, totems, and yin-yang are the core foundations. But Dong Sun bronze drums go further. They clearly express Viet consciousness, the sense of unified national identity, represented through the image of the leader holding an axe. Initially, the name Viet of the Viet people was linked to the axe symbol, appearing earliest in ancient East Asian cultures. Later, this symbol was inherited in the Liangzhu culture, then strongly developed in Shijia into the image of a leader wearing a feathered headdress holding an axe. The Dong Sun culture directly inherited this image, making the leader holding axe motif very common on bronze drums, clearly representing Viet consciousness. The leader holding axe image appears very frequently on Dong Sun bronze drums, often depicted in a separate space. This shows that national consciousness is expressed very strongly on the bronze drums, the central artifact of Viet ethnic culture in the Dong Sun period. What is very special, as revealed by the pattern arrangement, is that the middle layer, representing the intermediary world, or Earth, is also precisely where Viet symbolic patterns are frequently placed, with the image of the leader holding an axe. Thus, this image directly represents the meaning that between heaven and earth is where the Vietnamese live. Indeed, the values embedded in the bronze drum patterns that Vietnamese ancestors entrusted are immensely profound and extraordinary. Part 2. The origin of Hong Sen patterns and art. The origin of the decorative pattern layout on Hong Sen culture bronze drums has the closest origin from Phung Nguyen culture, the direct predecessor phase of Dong Sun. However, it can be traced further to predecessor cultures of the Viet tribe in the Middle Yangtze. Band decoration motif appeared earliest in Gaomiao culture, 5500 to 3500 BCE. The direct origin influencing cultures in Vietnam, a convincing evidence is the pottery bowl from Tangjiagang site, dated around 505-04-450 BCE. On the bowl bottom is an 8-rayed star center, surrounded by large and small bands decorated with zigzag and S-shaped yin-yang patterns. This layout is almost the prototype of the drum face, with center and radiating bands, as well as the drum body in Dong Sun, a fairy bird revering sun. This motif is almost default on Dong Sun bronze drums, with fairy birds flying around the sun. This connection dates back early in predecessor cultures of the Viet tribe. Direct origin from Hamudu culture, Lower Yangtze, and earlier in Gaomiao with fairy birds on pottery bands. This is the standard motif in Dong Sun. Other patterns may vary, but fairy birds revering sun are almost always present. B. Patterns representing sun rays. Zigzag or serrated patterns. Often previously interpreted as waves, but based on archaeological comparisons, they are sun rays radiating out. On Phung Nguyen pottery, triangles and zigzags clearly imitate rays. Similarly in Gaomiao. In Dong Sun, this motif is most common. often forming two bands enclosing the central concentric circles, possibly symbolizing minor suns. See yin-yang patterns. This is the most important motif, with original tangent spirals and many other variants on the bronze drums. D, dot, and concentric circle patterns. Concentric circles belong to the yin-yang system, but also directly represent multi-layered sun based on Gaomia observations. Dots simulate point-form sun rays. The entire Dong Sun drum face is essentially a large concentric circle system with the center as the sun. E. Subsection conclusion. All motifs, tangent, triangle, zigzag, concentric circles, dots, carry symbolic meaning for sky worship, totem worship, and yin-yang. They are not random but the core system of the Viet tribe community. The counterclockwise direction of patterns, bird flight, spirals, S-shapes, expresses one of the three core elements, mainly yin-yang philosophy. The core idea of yin-yang is qi, cosmic energy flow moving counterclockwise, as described in ancient cultures and northern shaman diagrams. Phung Nguyen culture already had counterclockwise spirals representing qi. Despite variants, like paired spirals converging in Dong Sun, the basic direction remains counterclockwise. The ancient Vietnamese custom of left-wrapping clothes also aligns with this direction, affirming the representation of qi spiral. In summary research, we clearly see Dong Sun bronze drum patterns as a complete symbolic system, with clear inheritance from predecessor cultures in the Yangtze region through Phung Nguyen. And it reached the peak of sophistication, complexity during the Hong Sen period in Vietnam. The historical and cultural value of this pattern system is immense. They provide convincing archaeological evidence of the continuity and development of the Viet tribe from ancient centers to northern Vietnam, proving an ancient civilization with masterful bronze casting, profound abstract thinking on cosmology and beliefs, and early unified national consciousness, fully comparable to major contemporary civilizations in East Asia and the world. If you find this analysis academically valuable and contributing to illuminating national cultural heritage, please like the video to support, share to spread knowledge to a wider community, and subscribe to the channel with notifications enabled to follow upcoming episodes in this series. Many other aspects of Dong Sun bronze drums, from social life scenes to ritual meanings, await our continued exploration in future episodes. Thank you for watching Arch and Time channel. See you in episode 3.